Hi, hon. I'm glad you're here. For the week one lecture, I want to talk about the environment in the workplace and the psychology of the environment. Work environments, the structure of an office can facilitate communication, cooperation, and productivity, or it could serve as a barrier to productivity. In other words, it can go either way. Just for an example, when I was an internal consultant, and I worked in a large manufacturing facility, and I was responsible for a lot of production teams, and there was a mezzanine that was full of meeting rooms, and these production teams would all have weekly meetings up in this mezzanine in these rooms, and I got to noticing that the structure of the room, that number one, that for some reason the production teams did not alter the structure. They didn't rearrange the rooms. They just, whatever the structure was, they would fill it in. And if it was productive, say like for example it was in the shape of a horseshoe and had a flip chart stand, they would have a pretty good meeting, and otherwise they wouldn't. I even experimented to the point that I would spread the chairs into the corner of the room, turn them away so they're like facing the wall and time out and no flip chart, and I would notice people would come in, they would turn the chair around, they wouldn't move it, and they'd literally sit in the four corners, and of course the meeting wouldn't be very productive. And then on the other hand, if I'd go in before they came and set up a horseshoe, get all the chairs around a horseshoe, put a flip chart in the front, write the agenda out on the flip chart, they would come in and they would use that structure that I'd set up, and it became a productive meeting. And so now this wasn't with all the groups. You know, some of the teams were pretty good about creating a productive structure, but in general, I was able to notice this effect that the structure had. Also, you know, as a mediator, I've mediated a lot of labor management conflicts, and you look for, you know, as a psychologist, you look for patterns of behavior. So I noticed this one union management group that I was working with had a tendency, as they would discuss their topic and disagree, that some of the members would start backing their chairs, literally backing away from the table. And they would some would back up 5 to 10 feet, and eventually they're out of the meeting because they backed up so far. And then when they got back where they were completely out of the meeting and withdrawn, eventually they would leave the room, and of course the meeting would end in no agreement. So I got to thinking about this, and because they were a challenge to work with. So what I finally did, I found a room in the plant that was a small room. You could get you could set up a table in a horseshoe shape, and the chairs there was only about 2 feet behind the chairs, and then you hit a brick wall. This was all the way around, all 3 sides. The only room with more room was up front, and that's where I was at. And so what happened, as they started to disagree and they would scoot back, they couldn't get any farther than 2 feet away from the table, which forced them to stay involved into the discussion. And so when I did that, I was able to get an agreement by taking them into that room. So once again, the structure really made a difference. Also, I remember one time at another location where I worked that I was part of a group of 12 consultants, and we shared this room. It was kind of a long, narrow room, and each consultant had a cubicle that faced the wall, and then behind us was a long conference table that went the entire length of the room. So So for example, if I was sitting at my desk, all I had to do was swivel around in my chair and I would be at the conference table where I could communicate with the other consultants. And sometimes we worked in training and development, so sometimes we might be working on a training design, and you wanted to ask a question, you just turn your chair around and ask a question, and then other people would turn their chairs around and they were immediately engaged. And this really facilitated cohesiveness in this group, and innovation, because we always had input, and it was it was definitely a high performing group, if not one of the best performing groups I was ever a part of, and I know that the structure was a part of it. And eventually what took this group out was they changed the structure and started spreading people out into individual offices, and that pretty much did it. So we lost all that cohesiveness that we had. I've also talked to as an external consultant, I've talked to people who worked as leaders in a large manufacturing facility, and I know one leader described the work center there as being so chaotic with people, noise, and interruptions when they were trying to work, that she couldn't get any of her paperwork tasks done. So literally what she would do, she would leave the area and go to another area to complete paperwork. And of course the problem with this, being out of the area, she was not available to her team. And but she could complete the tasks that she needed to get done, but she was not available to her team. And so once again, the environment in this case served as a barrier to getting things done. Williams, Armstrong, and Malcolm talk about what they describe as workplace paradoxes, and they say not all individuals have the same needs, and not all work within an organization is interdependent. So some of these paradoxes they list: we want control and we want direction. We want to be part of the group, and yet we need to be individuals. We want security, and at the same time we want a challenge, and you can't feel secure when you're being challenged. We want responsibility, yet we want freedom from care. We want to work, yet at the same time we want leisure. Sometimes we want to be alone, and other times we want to interact with people, and then there's times we need to concentrate, and then other times where we kind of welcome a distraction, that something that helps make the time pass. And then there's times we're distracted by the environment, and other times we find what's going on in the environment as stimulating. So taking individual and work needs into consideration while realizing these paradoxes is human nature, and it's something that needs to be considered in the work environments. Now, this same concept can be applied to your learning environment in your home. What type of learning environment did you set up? Do you have a space that's dedicated to support your learning for University of Phoenix? I mean, can you enter this space and be highly productive and work without interruption or distraction from TVs or other family members? This is something that you really should think about, because creating a dedicated work environment can really improve your performance in every single class. Right now, does your work environment facilitate your learning or present a challenge? I've worked with students in improving their work environments, and had some even say they've been able to cut out one of their weekly learning sessions because they became so productive in their environment. Also, you may want to notice that one of the worst places to study is on the bed, laying on your bed in the bedroom, because we're classically conditioned to fall asleep when we get on the bed. So if some people say, well, the bedroom's the only place I have where I can escape the chaos of family. Well, if that's true, and you still don't want to lay on a bed, you'd be much better off to bring a chair into your bedroom and sit in the chair. If anything, use the top of the bed as more like a desktop. But this is something that you can think about as you work your way through this class. What type of work or learning environment have you created at home, and what could you do that might improve that environment? Now, you may also notice that I posted the Daniel Goleman video, and as a video that you may want to watch. It's short, but I tell you, it's really powerful. People really love the point he makes in the connection between the emotional and ecological intelligence, the way people think about people and the environment. And is it a type of it, or is it a we type thinking? And so take a look at the video. I've also posted a discussion question related to that, so you may find the topic interesting, and you can post your comments. Thank you.